Hey friends, this is JB presenting wisdom to you. And guess what we're in today? We're in Ecclesiastes and we're in the part B of chapter 1. We're going to break these up. So if there's a title in here, when it comes to the wisdom that we're looking at, okay, like we have a title here, now we have a second title here. We're going to take that chunk, okay? We're going to take that chunk and we're going to focus in on that. During the Proverbs was great. So if you didn't get a chance to look at that series, give it a shot, look at it. If you have some feedback, give me some feedback, okay? The worst feedback is no feedback. So any feedback, you just type it in, you say, hey, like, didn't like, but if you say you don't like, if you give it a thumbs down, do me a favor, tell me what you didn't like, okay? This is a learning process. We know one of the things that we learned in the Proverbs is the wise get instruction and love it all the more and love on it, okay? And so the wise will take that feedback, okay, and we'll process it, and then we'll try to improve, okay? Because that's what wise people do. They don't try to get all bunched up about it. And sometimes, I'll admit it can hurt. Okay? You ever try writing with someone? You write with someone and you think, man, I got this gold. This is gold, baby, gold. And then when you get done, you pass it off to someone. Hey, man, give me some feedback. And they tear into you. And you're like, what? What was that, man? Man, you hurt my feelings. I'm not going to say that I may not feel hurt, but you know what? I'm going to think about it. I'm not going to give you a knee-jerk reaction. I'm going to try not to react really much at all, but to say thank you and take it, process it, and look at how that may improve the program, okay? So the vanity of wisdom. What does that signal to us right away? The vanity of wisdom. Even wisdom. You can have vanity there. I think that's where this is headed, because you think about the wise and they can get a sense of superiority. I was with Ravi Zacharias. I was listening to his program, I was in the audience and we were coming up to do the meet and greet afterwards, and he was being escorted into the governor's mansion, okay? He had an opportunity and he shook hands with, probably 100 people, I suppose. But we happened to be a little bit towards the back of that. And he was being ushered into the back, and you know what? He had to just kind of make a decision that, this discussion's more important. And I knew that. And I wondered if it was vanity of wisdom of any kind. And I shouted out to him. Well, I didn't shout, but he was, really at double or triple arm's length. Okay, it was that far away. And I could see that, look, it was a governor's prayer breakfast. He had things to do, a schedule to keep. And although we were all there, some people would take time when they were talking to him, shaking his hand, rather than kind of, so he only had so much time. But I just said, Ravi, thank you for blessing us. And I said, God bless you, Ravi, because you have blessed us. And he turned around and he looked me in the eye and he said, thank you. And he had to go. But that'd be better than a disingenuous handshake, in fact, because there was a connection. Okay, you felt, look, we met, our eyes met, we really, I would know him, he wouldn't remember me probably, and maybe by name if I introduced myself, but he meets so many people, right? So the vanity of wisdom. I wonder if this is what we're talking about. I, the preacher, have been king over Israel in Jerusalem. The preacher. And I applied my heart to seek and to search out by wisdom all that is done under heaven. It is an unhappy business that God has given to the children of man to be busy with. It is an unhappy business that God has given to the children of man to be busy with. I have seen everything that is under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and a striving after wind. And that's kind of where I've gotten in my life, where I've looked at, I mean, the economics is set up such that people got to make money, and they're going to have to do it through being an employer or employee or investor or something like this, right? And or an innovator of some sort, but salesperson. But I've gotten to a point where it's like, is there anything even worth doing that doesn't glorify God in the utmost? And there's not. It even got to a point so much that I even questioned whether the climate that we're in pertaining to the values of this world, the values of the U.S., and in this point in time in history, in fact, people are actually trying to say that God's creation covenant, really the first commandment, which is God created man and woman. Now that's a declaration of God, but in really any declaration of his is a commandment. God created man and woman. Guess what? There are people who are trying to refute that these days. And just a couple days ago, the Nashville Statement came out, and I fully support what they're doing with that. And I just thought it was so important for our faith and religion to have someone speak up like that, a group, and the signatories of that, I being one of them. And I think that this is an important organization, important group that really requires the attention of all pastors, priests, Christians, and the like to acknowledge that. I can't force people to agree with every statement, although I believe I do. But what you should be doing is you should be sharing with it and talking with your congregation. I believe it's straight from the Bible. So I think that we just go back to the Bible pertaining to it. But these statements, they consolidate everything in such a way that it makes it very clear what we need to be thinking about in terms of this new pollution of our hopefully I'm getting this. Is this coming through? Let me double check here. Let me double check these settings. Let me go to properties. Okay, good. Should be coming through. So back to the point is, this is so important and huge for our country, for our Christian faith, and for, let's face it, there are a lot of non-Christians out there, but we're trying to bring them into the light. And this is one of the ways. So it's huge. Nothing new. And it's like striving after wind. What is crooked cannot be made straight, and what is lacking cannot be counted. Interesting. After I said all that too. I said in my heart, I have acquired great wisdom, surpassing all who are over Jerusalem before me, and my heart has great experience of wisdom and knowledge. That's what he said in his heart. He said this. And I applied my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. I perceive that this also is but a striving after wind. Isn't this something? This is so powerful. And I applied my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. I wonder if he's saying that he's fallen into madness and folly at times, or I wonder if it really means that he's trying to like understand these sick-minded people out here in his world. This is thousands of years ago. He's trying to understand that and the folly to gain insight. Remember? And he perceives that this is also a striving after wind, fruitless. How can you understand sin? Do we? I mean, do we really understand the depravity in our hearts, our fallenness? Interesting. For much wisdom is much vexation, and he who increases knowledge increases sorrows. For much wisdom is much vexation, and he who increases knowledge increases sorrow. Lord, this is good. This is good. For in much wisdom is much vexation. Some things, to gain an understanding of them, it is beyond our capability. I was working with some particularly challenging clients, and at the end, you think like you know it all, and you made great strides, believe me, but you think you've understood them, and yet they revert back to some, it's like they revert back to some of their old ways. I don't want to use the animal analogies, but what I want to say is that even so, even when you feel like you try to understand them, you get stuck, you get stumped, and you got to give that to God, and you got to say, God, your plan's great. It's bigger than me. I don't know what to say. So, my friends, this is good stuff. Ecclesiastes. I'm glad we jumped in here. I really wanted to do my own thing, but to study this wisdom, isn't that smarter, wiser? No pun intended, but I think it is. I think that each of you would gain a lot by simply sitting back a little bit and studying the wisdom versus a lot of the other books and information that's out there. It's good stuff, a lot of stuff out there, don't get me wrong. But this is the source, God's word. Get it. Let's do this.